Hey, I'm Lanita Cooper, blackbebuzz.com, and this is Triple B Chatbox. I am here with an art activist extraordinaire, Gina M Jackson. She is founder, executive artistic director, and board president at Cultural Noire, performing arts company, an organization with the grand task of telling historic and contemporary stories that celebrate the African diaspora. Her accomplishment to the global arts scene is expansive and spans from the streets of the community to the halls of academia. Among her many accomplishments are Commissioner for the City of San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture, Board Vice President at La Jolla Playhouse Partners, Board President at Friends of Malcolm X Library, and Board Member at Atlanta Black Theater Festival.
I love everything that she is about. Please join me at blackbebuzz.com to learn more. But for now, join me in welcoming Gina M Jackson. One thing I want to start with is talking about your love of the arts. And I want to know how it found you, or did you find it?
Thank you. And again, thank you for having me, on your wonderful show and within your wonderful platform. Congratulations to you and everything that you're doing. As far as the arts, it's definitely God's purpose and God's design. So it was by his design that it is a part of who I am. So it wasn't that one day I woke up, and said that I want to do. It's always been in me. And also, with my parents instilling, arts, culture, God first and foremost. And exactly. And, just having my sister and me, be so well-rounded within, academia, the arts, God, and the community, it was just a natural. So.
So when you were coming up and you said you have a sister?
Yes, an older sister.
So when I was little, my cousin and I, we used to do these skits, and we used to all of the stuff where we would pretend play. And as I grew older, I realized it was something that I really loved. I loved, the performance. Is that kind of a similar experience that you have, where it was at first just kind of having fun and doing what children do, and then it developed into a passion? Or did you always know that you were going to be an arts activist?
Always knew. Absolutely always knew. And it's so funny we're talking about this because my sister and I have always been involved in the arts. She played the piano for a little bit of time. I played the clarinet, for some time, as well as played the piano, and we both sing. So we grew up, always being active in drama club at the church, doing various things within our schools. There's a 4.5-year difference. So, I was always doing things on my level. She was always doing things on her level, with the school piece. And as far as the acting is concerned, we've always been on stage in some shape, form, or fashion. You know how it is growing up in a Black Baptist church. You're in Easter productions, Christmas productions. And then, like I said before, too, outside of even the church, we were doing things, in school. So, and as far as singing, we've always just really quickly sung around the house. My mother would record us back in the 70s. We always had the latest and greatest equipment because my father retired from the military. He was big on music. My mother was big on music. My father was really big on technology at that time. And so we always had, reel-to-reel 8-track, stereo, everything. So my mother would record my sister and me, singing so many songs from the Jackson 5 to Earth, Wind and Fire, Aretha Franklin. Exactly. So we've always performed.
And you are taking me down memory lane with the 8 tracks and Sister Riri.
Exactly.
So one thing that we talked about is your company, or the company, Cultural Noire. And its mission is to celebrate the African diaspora through storytelling. Talk a little bit to me about cultural arts. What exactly is that?
Cultural arts to me and for me is authentically telling your story through the medium of the arts. I can't authentically speak on any other culture because I haven't experienced that particular culture from their shoes. So for me, with cultural arts, from a Black perspective, we have to be authentically our storytellers. And those stories have to be told through the medium of music, through the medium, of course, of theater, visual arts, dance. There are so many various outlets. So for me, cultural arts is truly a true representation of your culture through the arts and making sure that those stories are being authentically told through the vision and the voices of those who have experienced those particular stories.
And when you put that work in action, what does it look like? Because I'm hearing you say we want to be authentic, we want to tell these stories, we want to represent. What does the work itself look like? Because I can't imagine that it's easy.
No, it's not always easy, and that's why we always have to partner and collaborate with those who are on the same page with us, authentically. So the work, we have to make sure that we look at the work that's being presented to us. And I'm speaking from the theatrical perspective with cultural noir. Look at the work that's being presented, look at the person behind the work, and then also make sure that it matches up with what our agenda is and our mission and visions are. Vision is, in reference to what we want to perpetuate on stage. Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, in building partnerships, in telling stories, I imagine that it takes a lot of vulnerability on your part. So how do you use vulnerability to strengthen the work?
There are some things I know we sometimes may want to politically stay away from, but however, if we are going to tell the true stories, we have to be open. We do have to be open from all perspectives. So, and that's something honestly that I'm still working on, but we still absolutely, we want to hear all voices and just make sure that all stories are being told. So we have to make sure that we're vulnerable enough to say, hey, you know what, let me, restructure my vision maybe just a little, because if I'm saying that we're going to be authentic, then I have to be internally authentic to make sure that I'm not excluding any voices that are being authentically told. Maybe not from my personal perspective, but from the Black perspective. So. Mm-hmm.
That's a hard one, because we want to be inclusive of each other, but we tend to have kind of our own idea of what it means to be expressive and of our culture and of our best ideologies. And so sometimes it can be challenging to be inclusive of other people. I may be somebody who's Black, that's like militant and pro-Black, and then you have someone else who is more, I want to involve everybody in Blackness. I want to make sure that other races are educated. And so how do you strike that balance in a practical life? How do you strike the balance between your own worldview and being inclusive of other Black approaches?
That's a very, very good question. As long as the piece or the presenters are authentic, and I know I don't want to overkill that particular word, but as long as they're authentic and it matches up again with what our vision and mission statement, are, then that's how we actually, say, let's go ahead and use this piece. Let's go ahead and review this particular piece. Every piece that comes in, just because it's a Black piece doesn't mean that we're automatically going to use it. Exactly. So we look at everything, from the storytelling perspective to, again, who the writer is, the background of the writer, and if it's strong enough for us to say, hey, this really represents what we are trying to project on stage and what we want to see projected 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line. So that longevity of it too definitely plays a role.
Excellent. So Cultural Noire has been serving the community for over a decade now.
Yes.
Yes. So what was happening in the artistic space where Cultural Noire needed to address? What was the need that made you create Cultural Noire?
You know, I love creativity. I love cultural ownership. And I love us having control of our voices. So I've always wanted to have my own cultural institution. I love Berry Gordy. I love Motown. I love exactly everything that he has done with the development of Motown. So growing up, I've always admired Mr. Gordy. I've always admired others, Alvin Ailey, who have taken their God-given talent and created an institution, you know, that's long lasting and that speaks to the voices of Black people. So by me going back to your original question, one of your original questions in reference to theater, did it find me or did I find it? It definitely was innate. And so, you know, being able to at this age say, hey, you know what, now it's really time to go ahead and start my own theater company. You know, God has already put that vision within me. So now it's definitely the time. So that's when I said, you know, now or never. It has to be done. It has to
Let's do it. Now
exactly.
You are from St. Louis, but
East St. Louis.
East St. Louis. Oh, school me, because is there a difference?
The other side of the Mississippi River.
Okay. So East St. Louis, but you work all over the country. And so now that we're talking about your entrepreneurship, do you have any ideas or any thoughts on building a network and the significance of what it means to have a strong network to propel your business forward?
Absolutely. We have to have like-minded individuals on board with us, you know, and there are so many people who want those voices heard, who actually want to network with others, but they may not know how to go about doing so. And so fortunately for me, you know, God has blessed me with so many good people in my life, you know, and I just love to share. So therefore, you know, building the network of Black artists, of people who are really, you know, keeping the true movement of Black arts going, you know, with so many people from New York City to LA to Kansas City, East St. Louis, Chicago, Louisiana, wherever people may be. It's just always good to make sure that, you know, and social media plays a role too. You know, there are numerous Facebook pages or numerous Instagram accounts and all of that good stuff, you know, where it's like, oh, okay, well, you know what? This organization, they seem like they're doing some really good work. Let me check them out a little bit more. So for me, you know, being able to do my own research with others to see what they're doing, utilize, you know, the individuals who God has truly blessed me with, to say, hey, do you mind if I share your information with this particular group because they're trying to do A, B, C, and D. And then, you know, God just continuously puts others in my life. You know, that's how, you know, we keep the networking going, the building of these cultural institutions that we're all working toward, and just making sure that the voices are continuously being heard. Yes.
And Project One Voice. Yes. I have that right. That's one partnership that you have that developed over time. Can you talk about the inception of that relationship and then kind of broadly how you use partnerships? How do you lean on them for the advancement of both parties?
I love that question. Project One Voice. Oh my God, I love Eric. Eric McMillan McCall is the founder and the executive director of Project One Voice, based in New York City. And he wanted to have the voice of true Black theater exemplified throughout the world. So a few years ago, I read about Eric and the great work that he did, and he does currently. And so sent him an email like I normally would do, sent an email. My name is Gina, blah, blah, blah. And so he just welcomed me with open arms. And now I'm actually a board member for Project One Voice. He just recently appointed me as a board member, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And so Eric
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, working with Eric has just been really a joy, and he has just taught me so much. He's a former Broadway performer. And actually, when I lived in Atlanta, which we didn't know until, now in this season, we worked together he was in the national touring company of Joey's Last Jam, George C. Wolfe, Savion Glover. Exactly. Maurice Hines was, in the national touring company. Gregory Hines was actually in the Broadway production. So we just put 2 and 2 together. It's like, oh my God. I'm like, I was working at the theater company where you all, produced it. And he's like, oh my God, we didn't know. But anyway, Eric is just a really good person, a very, very good person. And we're actually celebrating Juneteenth this upcoming weekend. So he has a lot of good information that's on his website. That's actually Project One Voice website. That's on the theater company's website, on his Facebook page. And just having such partnerships where, again, the authenticity is there, the realness, the trueness, it just motivates me personally. And it just allows me to help motivate others in some shape, form, or fashion.
Yes. And so I was going to ask you about Juneteenth. I want to talk about the event and everything that's going to happen. It's from the 19th to the 21st. But if we can back up a little bit, can you tell me what Juneteenth is? Because I think there is still a lot of question about what Juneteenth is and what the significance of Juneteenth is. But should it be significant? I assume you're going to say yes because you have a Juneteenth event, but speaking to a broad audience of people who just don't understand why we need to celebrate Juneteenth.
Thank you. Juneteenth is so important because it was during 1865 that the state of Texas found out that slavery had ended. 2 years later, the institution of slavery is just brutal and just horrific anyway, but for, a state to find out that such an institution ended 2 years later, it's just something. And every time I think about just slavery, period, and what we've gone through in this country, 2021, we still have so much that we need to do, So Juneteenth is definitely something that we need to truly acknowledge. And I just read today, actually, that I think it's going to become a national holiday. They're pushing for it to become a national holiday. Yes. So Absolutely. So with Project One Voice and so many other organizations around the country, there are so many different celebrations in reference to this particular emancipation. So it's so important that we acknowledge, who we are, where we come from, where we're going. And Juneteenth is definitely one of those celebrations, very key celebrations that we have to always remember and acknowledge.
I always think it's a great time for us to get together in one accord. And Juneteenth is one of those times where it is the best parts of how we celebrate. We get together out in public, we have food, we remember, the stories that our grandparents and their parents told us. I really have enjoyed celebrating Juneteenth, particularly for that communal experience. Yeah.
Exactly. And there are so many great experiences. So many great celebrations, and now that we're virtual because of the pandemic, we can definitely celebration hop, so make sure everyone that you watch Project One Voice this weekend. There are so many other ones, but definitely keep us, in the front of your minds for sure.
Okay, so I have this open, a Juneteenth celebration of Black artists' artistic endeavors, June 19th to 21st, to the 21st. And this is the Juneteenth celebration. And there are other events that are also coming up at Cultural Noire, or one more event for the season?
Actually, for the season, we do have one more event that's going to take place June 27th at 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. And it's a celebration of Black Music Month. And so we're paying homage, actually, yes, to my very dear friend, family member's museum home, which is the House of Miles, East St. Louis, Miles Davis. So we're going to pay homage to the House of Miles. And also we're going to be interviewing Lauren Parks, who's actually the founder and executive director of the museum. And then we're also going to interview Mr. Ronald Carter, who's a jazz phenomenon, music teacher, music professor, just so well respected within the jazz, circle and just the music circle, period. So we're looking forward to having him as well. And he's definitely, a family member of ours as well. So.
It sounds like it's going to be a blast. Now, aside from these events, before we get out of here, where can patrons of the arts how can we become patrons of Cultural Noire?
Thank you. If you were to go to our website, culturalnoirepac.org, you can send us an email at culturalnoirepac@gmail.com, and then we'll definitely get you on our mailing list and definitely keep you abreast of everything that's taking place.
Excellent. And do you also accept donations? And how does all that work if we want to support you and become benefactors of the organization?
Oh, we definitely accept donations. Please, thank you so much for that. So you can definitely check out the website. We are putting our link up right now, this week actually, for the donations. But right now you can definitely send us an email, and then we can definitely let you know the best route at this particular point. But we will have the donation link this week for sure.
Excellent. And before we head out, was there anything that you wanted to share, wanted us to know about you or Cultural Noire that I did not ask?
Oh my God, that is so sweet of you. We are here, continuing the legacy. We are here just doing what God has anointed us to do. And, it's just so much bigger than us. So again, having our voices heard, having them authentically heard, and making sure that, we continue being the storytellers of who we are as a people. That is the purpose of Cultural Noire, and to make sure that we truly and culturally represent our history. So thank you for that, Renita.
That victory belongs to me.